loved everyone's feedback from last week's episode. And I'm excited to dive in and chat about a couple things that really surprised me that everybody sent me messages on Instagram. And so I was really excited to see what the responses were and see what people were struggling with, because team building, hiring a team, having a team, that is all really big stuff. It comes with a lot of thought that goes into it, and making sure that you hire the right people from the beginning is so important. So I want to touch base on that really quick, because in previous episodes, we've talked about, okay, you found the person, you've hired them, how do you train them? Which I think is super important too, but you've got to do a lot of work up front when you're hiring someone. So in that episode, we talked about, creating their job description, making sure that you know exactly what that person is going to do, creating something that someone can step right into so they know exactly what their job is going to be and if they can fulfill it to the best of their ability. I think a lot of times people create very vague job descriptions and say, well, you might be doing this and you might be doing this, maybe this, just depends. If you've ever read the book E-Myth, that is a huge book to read if you have staff, if you're thinking about hiring staff, because it really digs into you making that one person your everything. And then that person who's your everything gets burnt out and leaves. And so what my thoughts are is really creating those systems in place so that way if someone does leave, it's okay because you've already got everything in place to pick up the pieces and put another person back in that spot. So I think making sure that you're doing the work ahead of time before you hire someone can make a huge difference. There is so many resources out there. I know Dave Ramsey talks about don't let crazy in the building, how to determine if someone is crazy before you let them into your business. There are so many resources out there that you can find. Talk to people about, hey, what's your process? What do you do? Because everybody does it different. But the main thing is you've got to make sure that that person is the right fit for the job, because if they're not, they're going to be unhappy, and unhappy people do not make good coworkers. So laying that groundwork ahead of time is the most important step that you can take before actually hiring someone. The feedback that I received about building a house as it relates to building a team, that resonated with so many people. And I'm so glad to hear that, because again, you've got that blueprint. So you've done all the groundwork, you figured out what kind of a person you need, and then you start looking for that person. And then you continue to look for new people as more jobs come up. Or if you have a conversation with your employee and they're like, hey, I really don't like doing this part of my job, but I love this part. Maybe finding someone that can do that part that they don't love as much, helping them recreate the job that they love to come to every single day. There's so much talk right now about the Great Migration and people leaving jobs in droves. And what is that? What causes that? Now, me personally, I think it's because people just aren't happy. And maybe they were doing that job because it was their only option. But now, with everyone having the ability to maybe work from home or be a hybrid and go to the office and work from home part-time, and let's be honest, I really think that some people just work better at home. And I know for a lot of business owners, they're probably like, say what? I've got to watch my people. I've got to police my people. And to that, I say, you might not have the right people then. If you have to micromanage people, that's not the best way to have an employee relationship. Creating that communication is so important with your employees, whether that's verbally or creating a system like Slack or email or whatever system you decide to use, making sure that you have systems in place for people to communicate openly and effectively with you is so much better than micromanaging someone. I don't know why people still feel like they need to do that. Maybe it's because they've had bad experiences, because we've all had bad experiences. I mean, I had one experience where we were in the middle of a big situation. It was a super busy time of year. And that was the time that my employee decided to demand a raise. And I'm like, this is not the right time, my friend. We do not negotiate with terrorists. This is not the right time to discuss this. And it was something that we had to sit down and have a conversation and say, hey, listen, there's all these other things that are going on right now. Now's not the right time to talk about it. But let's talk about why you brought it up. Let's talk about opening up that conversation and talking about, are you frustrated? What's going on right now that's making you think that you need more money? Now, might they need more money? Maybe, but there's probably a reason something happened. They're not happy in some aspect of their job. There's probably a reason why she chose to bring it up at that time. And rather than getting pissed off and frustrated about it, it's having that ability to open up the conversation and say, hey, listen, this really frustrated me when you did this. I don't know if it was just the timing of it. I don't know what's happened, but let's talk about it. Let's figure out what's going on, because we want to keep our employees happy. We want to make sure that they're doing a good job for us, that they're fulfilled in their role. So that way they're not looking for another job, because we need our people. We need the people that know us the best, that care about our business like it's their own business. You don't want to let someone like that go. That is not good at all. There was some feedback about the organizational chart and how to even start with that. So I'm going to be creating a template library that you can get access to. So jump on over to my website and check that out, because I think it's easy to create an organizational chart, just like really anything, if it's laid out for you and you can just fill in the blanks. So what I always do with an org chart is I start with myself. Then I list people below. Now, you might be a solo entrepreneur and be like, listen, I don't have people. I know that I need people, but I don't even know where to start. So going back to that list that we talked about during last week's episode about how we're going to delegate and automate, looking back at that list and seeing, okay, does it make sense for someone to maybe check all my email? Maybe create some templated emails so that way when I need to text someone back, it's just super fast. Or maybe they need to organize my email inbox, trying to take like items and put them together, and then try to find someone that can do all of those like items as one full job description. Now, you might not need a full-time person for that. You might just need a part-time contractor. You might need a virtual assistant. Make sure that you're not just looking at, okay, I'm going to hire this full-time person and I got to find 1,500 things for that person to do to make sure that I'm getting my money's worth. That's not what you want to do, because each person has a specialty. So like we have someone who checks our email, who manages the email inboxes and everything related to that. We have someone who manages the Asana, who makes sure that everything is getting done and that communication amongst our entire team is happening in the order it's supposed to. We have someone who manages our podcast, who makes sure that that communication between the guests, whatever they may need, communication with our social media manager, there's all these different people that are making this entire thing operate like a smooth running machine. And that's what you need to look for. But sometimes it can be hard to find those people. And again, that's where it comes into the job description. So when you're filling out your organizational chart and you're like, okay, I know I need someone who does my email. I know I'm going to need a social media person because I'm not very good at it. I know I'm going to need a graphic design person because I don't know how to work Canva. I don't know how to work Sketch or Photoshop or any of that kind of stuff. You'll start to see, as you go down your delegation and automation checklist, you'll start to see that there's a lot of like things that tend to gravitate towards each other. So you can put those into your organization chart and say, okay, this person doesn't exist yet, but I know eventually they will be. And that person would do all this list of tasks, and start chunking it out that way. And then what I did when I very first started is I named that person. I put a name with that job description and who I was looking for. I started to think about what kind of personality would that person be like? What would their disc profile be like? All these different things about that person. What would be their best qualities? Any of those things that you can help narrow it down to find the right person for that job, the better. So whatever that looks like to you, if it helps to find an image online to put of that person in your organization chart, whatever you got to do, just make those lists, get it all written down. So that way, if you hear of someone or you reach a point where you're like, okay, I can no longer put it off, I need that person tomorrow, you can start looking for them. You have this entire list of what their job description is going to be, what their qualities will be like, what their attributes might be like, maybe even what their personality is like. All those things work together to find the right person for your team. If you follow along, you know that I love to do all this stuff inside of a notebook. So I keep an A5 binder that I have all this stuff in, so that way I never lose it. So make sure you're not writing out on the back of an envelope or a random scrap of paper that might be floating around your desk. Get yourself a notebook to keep all this stuff in, because it's not only super cool to look back on and realize here I am 5 years later, the people that I wrote down on that org chart, they exist. They're real people that now work for me. It's so exciting. And the same thing holds true as well. So as our company grows, as we get more and more clients, we're continuing to evolve that list. So we've got our spots filled from the original list, but now we have a new list. So it can continue to grow with you as you grow your business. And don't forget, it's never bad to start small. Even just putting down a couple things that person might be doing every single day can propel you so much farther. Don't forget to come back next week, because we've got a whole new pillar we're going to be discussing. And I'm so excited because it's one of my favorites. I can't wait to share that with you.